6 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order. Please call the roll, Ms. Sislo.
Ex officio Marthouse, Director Tozan,
Here.
Director Ramirez,
Here.
I didn't know who I was. Director Nutting, Director LaFontaine,
Here.
Director James,
Here.
Director Blackwood,
Here.
Secretary Sislo, President, Present.
Man, do I feel slighted already?
Sorry, I'll get to you. New role. Treasurer Becker,
Here.
Vice President Gillett,
Here.
President Knobloch.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Ms. Sislo, the approval of the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes, the minutes were approved by email vote on August 23rd, so they will be saved for all posterity.
Okay, we need to either approve or amend the meeting agenda. Does anyone need to change the agenda, amend it? No. So, not hearing any of that, we will vote to approve the amenda as presented. Everybody in favor, just raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Thank you. The President's report. We've got an estimated 800 and something golf carts in Diamond Head. Overall, we have a relatively small number of problems, but there are some areas where we can certainly improve. A couple of things. One, if you drive a golf cart on public streets, you're legally required to have liability insurance on it. Okay? So if you're stopped by the police and you do not have liability insurance, then it's, from the way I understand it, you're treated as the same thing as if you're driving your car without insurance, which can get to be a little expensive. The driver of the golf cart is required to have a valid driver's license. If he has or she has a learner's permit, if those things still exist, then the other person riding with them has to have a valid driver's license. Each cart is required to come to a complete stop at a stop sign or before crossing a road. Cars should never stop to allow golf carts to cross the street. A couple of examples. If you can picture the four-way stop from High Point where it comes out, it's a four-way stop there. Some people finish playing number 18 on the Cardinal. They go to the four-way stop, the first four of them in a row. The first cart stops and waits. Then he takes off, and the other three follow. That's wrong. They've been giving some tickets for that. Okay? To solve it, all of us know, there's a little sign over there that says, go that way. Okay? If you go that way, then you come across at a yield sign, and you don't have to worry about it. Okay? So they need to keep that in their mind. Recently, we did have an accident. It was a visitor who was here. They were crossing from number 12 to number 13 on the Pine. A car stopped, trying to be nice, to allow the golf carts to cross. Well, what happened? The cart over here is going this way stopped. This one didn't stop and hit them. Okay, it knocked them out of the cart. It damaged the car, fairly significantly, but they were okay. But everybody was obviously shaken up. My personal suggestion is if you show up in that and you see a car coming this way, look the other way and wave them. And I wait till they go past me. Okay? But those cars should never stop in that. In fact, if they do stop and somebody runs into the back of them, the way it's been explained to me, the person who stops gets a ticket because they weren't supposed to stop. So we need to make sure of that. We also had some increase in business, obviously, in Latitude 30. We have a lot of people outside getting in and out of golf carts and so forth, and some kids running around and so forth. We need to slow down and pay attention. I would suggest that you treat that area around Latitude 30 as a no-wake zone like in a marina, and go a little slow and look around, because some kids going, or somebody might be an adult, well, adult's probably not running, but coming out and they're going to step in front of you. Okay, so we need to work on that. Finally, on this part, ATVs are not allowed on any public street in Mississippi, nor are they allowed on the golf courses at any time. I may have said this already. I got a call, it might have been a month ago now, from two guys who wanted us to make ATV trails out of the two golf courses. I politely said I don't think the 600 homes on the courses would probably want to agree with that, and they left. Okay, we recently had several really big youth tournaments here. We had players here from New York to Missouri and all the southern states. I talked to some of the parents. I mean, obviously the parents are here with them. Parents had never even heard of Diamond Head, didn't know what was in here, and when they got here and saw what was around, they were all complimentary about everything. So that was really nice. In the airport area, some people have been seen using the runway as a walking trail for evening walks, riding golf carts on the runway, and driving cars or motorcycles on the runway. The runway is privately owned by the POA and maintained by the POA. There's a new lessee at the airport airport facility, and they asked me to remind everybody, pilots, especially at dusk, and here's a pilot right here, and he can't see during the day, but at dusk, he's just told me, you can't see the people because you're looking where you're going to bad term, whether you're going to touch the ground first, right? Okay, but they're not looking ahead. So if they come down here and start, and you're right over there, they're going to hit you. In addition, as Jerry just explained to me, on a lot of the planes that we have here, correct me if I'm saying this wrong, the flaps are the wrong way. You put them a certain way so you can land, and they can't flip them back up to take off again. Correct?
That's close enough.
Okay, thank you. So, and then you have a situation where somebody comes in, they don't have any fuel left. So they turn the engine off, and they're gliding in, and you don't hear them. I know we can't legislate intelligence, but we need to stay off of the airport runways. In the voting precincts, you may have heard this, or hopefully you've heard it by now. If you lived in District 3 in the past, you voted at the community center. District 3 became too large, and they had to split it into 2 precincts. Okay? So we still have, presently now, we still have Diamond Head Precinct West, which still votes here. Okay? Then now have Diamond Head Central, which still continues to vote in the community center. But you have Diamond Head East, which is going to vote in the club. Okay, it's going to vote. They'll use the very first section next to the stage as a voting thing. All the elections in Mississippi are on Tuesday, so it's not a big thing. You should have gotten a letter, or rather a postcard, if you live in that area within the last week or so, saying this is where you vote and there's a change. The dividing line for the new areas, basically it's Golf Club Drive. If you live on this side of Golf Club Drive, you're in Central. If you live on the other side, the country club, the club at Diamond Head side of Golf Club Drive, basically you're going to be in Diamond Head East. Okay? And that takes place, that starts in the November election. So there's not a whole lot of time before then. What do you think was the first question that we asked when they came to me? It's rhetorical, so you don't have to answer it. I said, can we still sell alcohol on the day of the election in the building? Their answer was, I'm really not sure. So we weren't going to agree to it depending on the answer. So they called the Secretary of State's office, and the Secretary of State said, yes, it's okay to sell it as long as the poll workers are not selling it or buying it. Or drinking it. Same thing, okay? We've also had several instances of children almost causing some significant problems on the dance floor in Latitude 30. We had one set of parents, they were outside on the patio, and they let their child come inside and run around, okay? he almost knocked down a person who was dancing accidentally. I mean, it wasn't on purpose, but that's a problem. We had a second incident that I'm aware of. There was a little boy who was running around, had a toy, and he threw the toy and he hit a lady who was dancing in the face. Well, it stunned her. It didn't cause damage, but it kind of stunned her. And what's going on? We had a third one who was running around, and he ran into one of the people coming out of the kitchen or in that area, holding the big heavy tray of food, and that could have they almost fell. Okay, so that's some problems. So those were 3 incidents that were reported to me, and there were other ones who I believe have happened too. So please understand this following sentence. Free roaming children. That does not apply to chickens. Free roaming children are not allowed on the dance floor when dancing is occurring. If your child likes music and you want to bring him or her into latitude 30 to hear music, when dancing is taking place, that's normally on a Thursday and a Friday, it's okay, but you've got to keep the child with you and not near the dance floor. Okay? The whole reason is, imagine what would happen if some child ran into an individual and knocked him or her down accidentally and they broke their hip. Who's going to get sued? Obviously the BOA. Okay? I mean, I know you can get sued for anything, but we don't want to be put in that situation. So we need everybody's help in just making sure to keep those kind of kids under control. I recently had a phone call from a resident. He said he and his wife moved here about a year ago from a golf community in Diamond Head. In Florida. Thank you. He said his HOA dues in Florida were $350 a month, and they had to pay $20 a person to rent a cart to play. And he had to buy at least $200 a month in food from the club. Obviously, he thought he had a really good deal going here. Okay, and they really enjoy it. And he said, here's why I called. He said, I just read. You hear that?
Yeah.
It's talking back to me and it's turned off. He had just read on social media that property values are lower in Diamond Head because of the POA. And he said, well, what do you think about that? So I had to think for a few minutes. I said, well, 3 things. One, I actually taught basic statistics to gifted kids as part of a physics classes when I was teaching. That was a while back because that was when the TRS 80s first came out, if you remember those. But the last activity that we did, we had little groups of maybe 3 or 4 kids. We gave them the same set of statistics and said, come up with at least 2 ways that it can be interpreted. Well, if we had 4 groups, there were at least 6 different answers that they came up in 4 groups. Okay, if you've ever dealt with gifted kids, sometimes they're off the wall, but in a nice way. So what they really learned after that, and we all agreed, is the same stats can be explained in any kind of a way, and the person who explains the stats can move them in any direction that you want. Okay, so you have to be very careful with statistics. The second thing I said, the Hancock County assessor constantly says our amenities do have a positive effect on our property values. And then I ended up with, okay, we need to continue that line of thought to its logical conclusion. Obviously, we should dissolve the POA, get rid of all the amenities, and our property values will automatically increase. He kind of laughed a lot and said, I don't think we should do that. So that's just an example of some problem that we're dealing with. And the following last comment, you know how if you're a member in good standing, you use a card to get a discount if you're in the club and so forth. Last month, from what I've read, there was about $25,500 in discounts. So that's a really nice perk for the members who are in good standing. That's it for me. Thank you. Committee reports. We'll start on this end. Mr. LaFontaine?
Nothing from the Safety Committee report.
Okay. Mr. Bill Blackwood?
Yeah, we did meet, the administrative committee met on September 15th and went over the purchasing, the bid policies, and accounts payable with management to understand how all that works. And it seems to be very good with separations of power. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. James?
Yes, the golf committee met on 8th of September. The green superintendent, Dan, he gave out detailed handouts on cost, time, and labor for course maintenance, and explained his use of his electronic schedule board in his shop to the committee. There was, he also talked about detailed progress on other items that had been discussed by the committee. The golf shop has been quite busy of recent. They hosted a U.S. Kids Tournament where we had 110 participants from 13 states. Had the member and the 9th through the 11th, the VFW this past weekend. We got the Slavic this coming weekend, and the last week the inaugural Ladies Malahini member guests. Golf shop revenue has reached a point right now where it is covering the cost of golf course maintenance, so that it varies from month to month, but it's great news to hear. Merchandise sales have increased substantially over the last couple of years as well. Upcoming events for the golf course is Drive, Chip, and Putt Sub-Regional, CP 4-Ball, Wheel of Misfortune, Shaka Club Championship, and then in December, the PGA Gulf Coast Chapter's annual meeting. That's it.
Okay, Mr. Tozan?
Yes, the House Committee met September the 15th. We had Candace Boone, the Special Events Coordinator, address the committee. She reviewed the agreement that's prepared for all clients, how the food is priced and reviewed in pricing on an annual basis at least. Spoke to the fact that annual members in good standing can waive their cost of the rental when they use the room. All costs of the operation of the rooms is significant. For that reason, a suggestion was made that we charge a modest fee to POA members for use. That suggestion was discussed and it was agreed to revisit after the current peak season. We discussed the condition of the refreshment service carts. We have 2 carts. One is a 2004 and it served its purpose and needs to be replaced. The other is a 2015. It needs to be refurbished. We received pricing for both of those items, and it'll be presented to the board next month for consideration and vote. The 2015 refurbish would be in the range of $4,000, and the cost of a new cart would be through a lease agreement at $408 a month for 5 years with a $1 purchase at the end of it. We discussed the issue of the large number of unsupervised children running in latitude 30. As the president already mentioned, we've had a number of issues and a number of examples where kids have presented some dangerous situations. It is a hazard. We need to do a better job of managing our kids when we're in the restaurant. And we've reviewed a flyer that went out asking people to be considerate and to supervise their kids. We discussed the issue of large parties having celebrations in latitude 30 that conflict with events that are planned by the club, such as bingo, trivia, and so forth. While we encourage and enjoy patrons using the facilities, we ask that they give management some advance notice so provisions can be made to better manage and serve everybody. We also discussed the feedback for improvement for Chris in the kitchen. There's a sense that the number of complaints are diminishing and we're trending in the right direction. Chris and Rick both stated they're still working on improvements. We discussed moving our meetings to the first Thursday of every month so that we can have better timing to submit requests to the board. We will start doing that, and our next meeting will be November the 4th at 3:30. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Sislo?
The Recreation Committee met and is beginning their assessment of the different amenities and facilities. We put in some work orders for things like walking trail lumps and bumps and some paint that's required. Our biggest topic of conversation is beginning a discussion, and we'll hopefully have a chance to meet with the House Committee to talk about refreshments and food both at East Rec and in the main pool area. We're trying to find ways to make that work better for our patrons and for the members in good standing, but that's a work in progress.
Okay, the Futures Committee met. We did a thorough because we had some new members on it. We did a thorough explanation of all the legal decisions from the last 50 years that affect us and how we have to operate, and that took the entire time. Mr. Gillen?
Yeah, the Airport Marina Committee met. The Diane Simonson, who is our harbor master, has reported that the pilings for the new dock have arrived, and that she was told that the other materials should be arriving in the next week or two, and they hope to have everything completed by the end of October. So we're hoping for that. The new runway lights are being installed, should be complete this week or next week at the latest. And I just had one of the pilots come up to me and comment on how great the lighting is on the runway, how much brighter, how much safer that is for everybody. As Ernie just said, if you've got somebody out on that runway, especially at night, the pilot is probably not going to see them, unless they're wearing bright flashing lights or something. And when a pilot's coming into land, he looks down the runway, but let me tell you, he's looking where he's going to land at the last couple of 100 feet. And if you're on that runway, it could get very, very ugly very quick. So please stay off the runway. David Maples and his wife Mary, they are the new lessees at the airport. Their company is Aceri LLC, and they gave us a brief presentation on what they're planning to do and some of the things we'll see at the facility. Diane also gave us a presentation on some of the things she had been doing at the new ship store, and she has shirts and baseball caps that say Diamond Head Marina, give the coordinates, and if you've got a fisherman in your family, Christmas is coming up. It might be something good that you can buy for them. Everybody's always looking for a Christmas present for your son-in-law or somebody. So go on down and see Diane, and she'll be glad to sell you something. She also reported the store is manned now, sun up to sundown, and we normally are going to be leaving the bathrooms open even for somebody coming in late. And the people at Lazy Gator have committed to make sure that when they leave that the bathrooms are locked. Okay. She also said they do not have a ship-to-shore radio, and we're looking into installing that. She has investigated what we would do to make the ship store ADA compliant, and she looked into what it would cost to build a ramp and what it would cost to get a lift, and the lift was much cheaper than building a ramp. The only thing is we're going to have to pour a concrete pad, and we need to pour some concrete for the new bathroom. It doesn't quite line up with the old walkway, so we'll have some concrete work going down there, probably be less than $4,000. She asked about the area behind where most of the trailers park. We have the parking lot where once you launch, the boaters can park their trailers, and there's a grassy area back behind that. Some people had asked about could they store their boats there. The committee discussed that, and with a lot of the different things that came up, we rejected that idea for now. Greg has reported to us that we're looking at painting "Welcome to Diamond Head" on the front of the hangar, which would be a nice addition, especially for people who are first coming in and landing there. And that's all I've got.
Okay, Mr. Becker?
The budget committees met several times, which consist of Bill Blackwood, the admin chair, Greg Abity, the general manager, Darian McInnes, the controller, and myself. And of course, all the department heads have participated, and we are on schedule to complete the budget by the end of the month.
Okay, Mr. Ramirez?
The Facilities Committee has met twice since I was here. I was out last month because of COVID. So we've met twice. We've actually made tours and visited majority of the facilities, still have a couple more. Identified several different things and have reported them back to Greg and to Adam. Adam has been very forward and quick getting responses back to us and explaining what we're going to do or what they're planning on doing or why we can't do something. I would like to say, though, just while we were out and about, the parking lot at the Twin Lakes looks very, very good since they've got the striping on it, and it works well if we can get people to actually park in the parking place. But that and the new shipshore down at the marina and bathroom actually really good. So very good job on that, and that's about all I've got.
Okay, thank you. Now we have the general manager's report.
Good evening, everyone. With the details that each of the committee chairmen have given this evening, I want to point out that it's a pleasure to sit in on the various meetings and also to see if there's a way that we can compare dates and times so there's not a conflict between one committee and the other. There's been a couple examples where I couldn't attend a certain meeting because I was in the other meeting. So just if you could see if there's a clearinghouse for that. As it relates to the golf cart issue, one thing Mr. President didn't disclose, at least I don't think I heard it, is the tendency for some golfers to, when they go to pick up their golf ball out of bounds in a property owner's property, they actually are driving their carts into the property owned by the individual. And that creates an issue, a problem, and it's a violation of club rules. So those individuals need to be made aware of the concern that we have in that regard. The other item that I hesitate to bring up, but I will anyway, is the recent occurrence of misconduct by individuals in the club environment. And the misconduct is in the form of profanity and foul language that is openly expressed, and want everyone to know that we are addressing those matters and have met with the Violations Committee, and action is being taken. Another issue that is evolving is handicap relative to golfers scoring in competition. And there appears to be a pattern and to some extent reoccurrence of individuals who maybe are not recording all of their scores under regular play, therefore not obtaining a certified handicap. And with that, the handicap committee will be discussing and addressing what to deal with those circumstances. So we've got action, some of it good, some of it not, and we're dealing with it. So in your information packets is a financial report. August shows a operation total net income of a little over $22,000, and year to date almost $43,000. So we're covering expenses, and most of the variances that you see on the expense side deal with cost of goods. Some of it's payroll and labor expense, a little bit of overtime. Chemicals, fertilizers, fuel, those items in particular have escalated in pricing. And generally the cost of doing business is increased. The next item in the packet is the POA goals and focus, all of which you can read and review. Any questions, I'm always available. The amenity use agreement shows activity statistics for each of the various operating entities, from golf to swimming, tennis, marina. And activity's been good. The next item in your packet is the breakdown of food and beverage sales for the month of August. It's a great report that Chris puts together, sends to me, and I take this information and summarize it on the next page, which gives you January through August, a total of almost $1.7 million in sales, food and beverage. It shows the month of August slightly lower than the average per month. And it also shows you where the money's being spent, with 67% of it being in Latitude 30, 10% in the Oak Room, events, outdoor activity, etc. The next page gives you a summary of events that are scheduled upcoming at the club. Then we get to the accounts receivable collections report, which shows for the month of August, a little over 30,000 collected. It also points out to you that we have a total of 14 cases, 7 of which will be presented to Justice Court on October 20th, and the next 7 would be the following week, we believe, October 27th. And we're waiting for written confirmation on those. In addition, we've selected 4 other accounts that are significantly past due, 2 of which are in excess of $20,000, and we've submitted information to the in-house attorney, Mr. Sharp, and he's to review that information and then make a decision whether to submit to the courts. That would go to the higher level court, circuit court, I believe. A summary report by our sales and marketing indicates the trunk or treat activity scheduled for October 18th. And Cruising the Coast, October 5th. Fall Festival, October 22nd. So there's lots of activity taking place. Summary by the Community Center, which I think Mr. Blackwood has the next admin committee meeting going to take place at the Community Center,
Yes.
which is a great idea. And the final page of your packet is a employee hire and resignation by month and year to date by department. And in summary, it says that we have 140 employees, 88 are full-time, 52 are part-time, 19 are salaried. The balance, or 121, would be hourly paid employees. So I know it's a lot of information. Don't expect questions this evening, but when you have a chance to review it, anything that comes up, I'm always available. That's all I have for this evening.
I have one comment. I was looking at the third, I think it's the last page, and this is for the people watching. We are making an attempt to collect back dues. Okay, it's time consuming and whatever. But so far this year, we've collected a little over $200,000 in back dues. And shut up. So that's a significant amount of money in this organization. So thank you.
Good. You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to move. Do we have any POA member comments on agenda items?
We don't have anyone on our list.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next we'll move to the regular agenda. So we have a motion to approve the purchase of ballroom plateware for not to exceed $6,000. Someone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Tozan makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Blackwood seconds. Okay, Mr. Tozan?
Yes, the need is to replace the plateware for the special events. What we have now is a mix and match of different settings. We're trying to get back to a point where everything is the same setting. The bids that you have in front of you show the cost of it, and they will be obtained within 2 weeks once we approve it.
Does anyone have any questions or comments?
It's needed. I can tell you that.
Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand, please. Okay, it's unanimously approved. Thank you. The next, we have a motion to approve Section 12 of the D.R. Horton Declaration of Covenants. Someone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Gillen makes the motion. We need a second.
Sislo second.
Sislo seconded. If it's okay, I'll go on with this since I actually dealt with it a little bit. D.R. Horton is going to be building in here, okay? And they came to us and said, we want all of our members, or anybody who owns a lot, to be automatically become a member of the Diamond Head POA. We certainly did not object, okay? So their document, their deed that everybody gets is like 26 pages long. So we copied only Article 12 out of it, okay? And we forgot to add it, made a mistake, forgot to add it in the minutes in the agenda that was sent out. So the people up here have it, everybody in the audience has it, they gave it out tonight. But I'm gonna read two little parts of it, just so the people who are watching will know what we're talking about. It says, each owner shall be deemed a member of the Diamond Head Country Club and Property Owners Association, the POA, and entitled to all the rights and memberships of the POA, including voting rights, subject to the terms and conditions of the charter, etc. And the other part is the lot owners agree to pay the POA, 1, monthly assessments or charges, 2, special assessments, 3, any individual assessments, fines, or charges charged against the lot or owner, as such assessments are established within the POA bylaws. Notwithstanding anything to the contrary herein, in no event shall the assessments of the POA, including monthly assessments, special assessments, and otherwise, exceed $2,000 per lot in any calendar year. Now, we're not talking about if you play golf and you're paying something extra, but that's our monthly dues, basically. If it reaches $2,000 a year, I don't know about most of y'all, we won't be here. Okay, so this is a good, positive thing for us, meaning the POA. Any other comments or questions? Okay, well, we'll call the question. All in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous again, so it passes. The third thing, we have a motion to approve installation of a permanent kitchen entry wall and column to match other Latitude 30 decor for not to exceed $5,000. Would someone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Tozan makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Gillen seconds. Mr. Tozan.
Yes, if you're familiar with Latitude 30, as you walk down the hallway, the door is always open into the kitchen. It has to be able to carry the food in and out. What we've done in recent times is put a curtain up to provide a blind so you don't look directly into it, but the curtain's really not working for us. The plan is to put a wall to match the decor of the hallway in Latitude 30, to put a column, to widen the door coming out of the kitchen so that it will better facilitate carrying trays, and to repair and finish the flooring and the walls around it. Also install a mirror on the wall as you come out so you can see any traffic as you're coming out. It'll be done within 6 weeks of the approval of the
Any other questions or comments? I certainly think it's a good idea. Okay, well, if there's no other questions or comment, we'll call the question. Everybody in favor, raise your right hand, please. So once again, it's a unanimous vote, so that is approved. And we have a motion to repaint the directional arrows to the original size and install one-way and speed limits, 15 miles per hour signs at both entrances to Country Club Circle. Someone like to make that motion?
I will make that motion.
Mr. LaFontaine makes the motion, so we need a second.
I'll second
Mr. Blackwood seconds. Mr. LaFontaine?
Over a recent few months ago, we've had a lot of incidents and reports, both from individuals and witnessing, where we've had golf carts and cars coming in the wrong direction. And we've had a speeding problem with, especially folks from out of town coming in both sides of the circle. But we've had some incidents with some golf carts with families in them coming around the circle in the wrong direction. And if a car's coming in from the right direction, it could be a serious incident, serious accident. So we're requesting to repaint those original directional markers to the original size that they were, and also to put a one-way sign up where the yield sign is now on the entrance.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? Okay, I notice on here it says not to exceed $2,000.
Correct.
Okay, we hear no other comments or questions. We'll call the question. Motion to do the directional signs and so forth. All in favor, raise your right hand. So again, that's a unanimous vote. Thank you. So that passes. There's no POA members' comments on non-agenda items. Is that correct?
None.
Okay. The next meeting is going to be, it's one of these Friday meetings that we were required to have. It'll be on Friday, October the 21st at 6 p.m. here in Diamond Head City Hall. Someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Mr. James makes a motion.